on air. Let's get Helix Rock Radio rolling. Yeah, promptly and on time. That's the Grawlix podcast.
Look at that. Look at that. It's not even 8:30 yet. It's 8:29.
It's not even 8:30 yet. Our official time is 8.
Well, yeah. But that's just when we actually hop on to the internet. I can't remember last time we started at 8.
Oh, weird. It took a little bit longer to connect to... Hey, Helix Rock Radio. What's going on?
Hey-oh. Here we are.
Pardon my typing. Hey, YouTube. What's going on? Pardon my typing.
YouTube.
All right. Let me get a link to this YouTube. Let me get a link. What's this? Is this a share? That's a share button. Copy.
Welcome to the missing link.
We're chewing it up again. I don't know what that means.
That's right. Yes, we are. Share and share alike. I always say. I always say it.
He does. Every time.
All the time I say it. I say it every time. Yeah. It's practically my catchphrase. It's not.
Facebook, are you really not going to give us like a video preview thumbnail or nothing? It's just going to be this ugly thing. Let's try this again.
Nothing. Not a thing. Not a thing.
Oh, that's pretty ugly. Wait. Nope, that's still ugly. Change preview.
They don't like outbound links.
They don't. Yeah, they don't.
They hate them.
Well, you know, maybe if their video platform didn't suck so much and wasn't so hard to navigate, and now
they're just deleting your live videos,
deleting the live streams anyway. You know, maybe if it weren't for all that, we'd prioritize them over YouTube, but it's not happening.
No. They just gave up in the like most I don't know, like the most defeatist way too. They were just like, yeah, we're not doing that anymore.
I don't know what their game is. I don't think they know.
Reels.
I guess.
They just want you to make reels.
I guess.
Because that's their thing, you know? Like that's their copyright trademark thing.
It's so crazy, and I know over the years I've said it 100 times, but it's so crazy just how it's kind of, I guess it plays into a little bit of the crapification of things, I'll say. But they've never like really properly revamped their stuff. Like they've got a design revamp, but it's just been like, it's like how Windows would do with their menus. It's just, there's a new Windows. All the old settings are still there, but then they just lay a new layer. They just duct tape a new layer of settings on top of that are less good, and you have to do extra navigating.
Harder to find.
And that's just been Facebook in every respect for years now.
And then they don't announce it when something that they buried disappears entirely.
Right.
I don't remember what it was, but there was some feature I was looking for, and I was like, going through all the things, and finally I just did a Google search, and they were like, yeah, they discontinued that like 2 years ago. It's like,
do you remember they had the most half-cocked attempt to push into the podcast space for like 6 months? Maybe you could put your podcast feed on there, but like they didn't really push it very well. They didn't advertise it. They didn't support it at all. And then it disappeared. And it's like, what was that? Why even bother?
I think, like they just do things like Snapchat does. They just do things like TikTok does. I mean, that's what Reels is. That's what those weird filters were for a while. I mean, I think they still exist, but like, I don't know that anybody's using Facebook for the filters the way that people go to Snapchat for the filters.
Right. Even like Threads, if you compare it to like, I mean, I know Instagram was its own thing, but then it got bought up. Even like they launched their Twitter competitor Threads, and it's just built on the code of Instagram. It's just built on the bones of Instagram, and like interconnected in a very awkward way.
Yeah.
Like they just started rolling out I've been kind of bouncing over to Threads a little bit more, not that often.
Sure.
But they just started rolling out DMs on Threads, and it's just kind of like, why?
Well, you can't even have a Threads account without Instagram.
Right.
It's like Threads presented by Instagram.
And to be fair, when I was spending a lot of time on Threads at the beginning, a DM feature then would have been maybe more useful, because there were a couple people that I ended up messaging that we didn't have to bounce over to Instagram. And I'm like, I hate doing that. I don't like how Instagram's laid out. It's a mess.
Right.
Oh
yeah.
But I don't know.
They changed the icons. They changed what this icon used to mean, that you were DMing someone. Now it means you're sharing it. And now if you want to go to the DMs, you got to go up here, and then you got to find them inside of that. It's a mess.
And I'm still whatever. We're old men talking.
This is the cold open. This is the cold open. We haven't even introduced the show. Yeah.
Welcome to Grawlix. Welcome to Grawlix Nights, the Grawlix Podcast live show. I'm Randy.
I'm Jesse, and I'm mad about my lawn care.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the lawn care going on outside finally died down, but my AC did just kick on, so there's probably still noise. No Melanie
blower for leaves.
No, there's no leaves.
No leaves.
Although I am hearing the fireworks starting now. It's July 3rd. Yeah. So that was anticipated.
You know what that means? Acetylene bombs.
That's no joke. Well, I thought it was, and it's not like, I don't know the combustibility of acetylene.
I don't either. Like, how would you even do that safely? Like, would they have for a fuse?
I don't remember. They probably shot it with like a
Roman. You can't just like light it like with a lighter. That would be like, you'd be dead. you'd be massively disfigured.
They used, I remember, it must have been like big. It was obviously somebody with, we're talking about 4th of July stuff and big fireworks and a weird string of like
a thing that we didn't, we talked about off the stream.
Right.
Before we started.
And there's been like a couple like weird news stories locally about like people getting busted for like big time busted for making illegal fireworks, which is okay, crazy. But I was telling Jesse off mic, that when I was younger and I'd go hang out in a town nearby, and the people I'd hang out with, they had like a nice garage, right? Like, I mean, we were at their house, but like,
yeah.
How are you
going to have acetylene unless you have like a nice like welding area or something?
Exactly. So they had these big, it must have been big trash bags, but they were big, like the kind of clear bags where it's not super thick, plasticky.
Okay.
And they would fill it, like, these are huge bags, fill it with acetylene, with gas, and take it out.
Which is usually in like a huge steel canister.
Yeah. And did they? I can't remember how they lit them off. They must have shot them with like Roman candles or something crazy. Like
that makes sense.
That'd be the safest way to do it.
And yeah, you'd have to like. And I suppose if it didn't go the first time, you'd just keep shooting it with the Roman candle as long as the fire got to it and got through the plastic. It's hugely flammable, obviously.
Right. Very loud. Man, ridiculous. Don't do that. Just in case.
Yeah. Speaking of ridiculous, there's no Melanie tonight. So we are wildly off track.
That's true. That's true. And it's going to remain that way.
Yeah.
No, we'll rein it in every 15 minutes or so, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any Doctor Who news for us to go on about too long, so we're not going to do that.
Right.
I know we did watch a couple things, so let's do our hey, what we've been watching lately. And then I feel like the main a D20 dropout stuff could be dangerous. That probably is approaching.
That's the new Doctor Who.
Yeah, that's approaching Doctor Who levels of.
Nobody will care but us. But maybe we'll talk somebody into like watching it. I don't know.
Right. Well,
but first,
I'm all right.
See, you never get to do that. You know,
you're right.
Like, you always ask us. Like,
I've been doom scrolling while listening to metal, and it just seems right, but also wrong. Everything sucks. The world is in a bad place.
It makes sense that that's what you do, but also it's not good.
Right. I mean, the metal helps because it's like,
oh, sure.
It's music that matches
your
the
blood
outside
pressure would
and
be
the inside.
So low.
right.
You're be so low, and what good is that?
Oh, I do want to.
If you don't have like a throbbing vein in your forehead, then how are you even living?
Right. That's true. I do want to mention real quick. This is off the top, but tomorrow's the 4th of July, and I know if you're in the US, you're probably busy. There will be an Edge of the Abyss tomorrow. It's pre-recorded because I'll be at my mom's house doing family stuff.
Sure.
There will be no talking. I debated if
you did that last week too, didn't you?
I did that last week. This week I debated
all music.
This week it is literally all music. So if you tune into Helix Rock Radio, that's rockradio.live. It's just going to be a bunch of songs playing. You won't necessarily I'm not going to be there. There's not going to be intro. There will be no intro theme or nothing. It's just going to be a block of music. Because I debated what can I say? Because it's a special Happy Birthday America, July 4th. Do you think you really deserve your birthday this year episode? There
all right. Okay.
2 hours of music. Normally I can fit 23, 24. If I'm not going to talk at all, maybe 26, 27 songs in a 2-hour block. There's going to be a lot of punk and hardcore music. And I didn't realize how big of a difference that would be putting together a 2-hour playlist. 54 songs. And I was like, because most of them are 2 minutes tops. Yeah.
Punk is fast and furious. Over.
Right. And it's not all punk, but it's a lot of punk. Yeah, it's a good show. You should tune in if you're going to be available. I'll have the replay up at some point. But yeah. 54 songs. Some deep cuts.
Woo-wee.
Don't worry.
All the music, not just oops all music. That's all music.
We never get political on this station. We never get political. Maybe that's why Randy's not hosting the show. It's just going to be a lot of music.
We've got a director. We got a directive mandate from the station. What's the station director? A mandate from the station director. We don't get political.
Yeah, and to be fair, it's not like we ever did anything, and he's like, "Hey, no politics." It was just like, it's just a general rule of his, right? With the station. I was like, yeah that's cool.
Yeah, he tries not to himself,
right?
Which is really hard to do.
That's cool for you. Anyway, yeah, I wanted to mention that. So, if by chance you want some awesome tunes, and maybe the kitties are in bed by then because there's some pretty strong language in some of those songs.
Yeah.
8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern is when it starts tomorrow night, July 4th. Jesse,
Yeah.
you watch anything interesting? Maybe anything new?
I mean, yeah. I mean, most of we'll probably talk about the stuff I'm actually watching, but
Right.
like a couple of things that I've been doing, and we're doing audio only, but I'm gonna hold them up just so Randy can see them. But I've been reading like I've got a couple of these comics that are like based on the Greek gods, done by George O'Connor, and they're pretty good. I've read through two of them. Hephaestus used to be like the Roman god Vulcan. He's like the one that does like he creates all the crazy things for the Olympians and whatnot. That's the first one that I got just because like you don't see a lot for that guy. He's the one with the lame leg and whatnot. And I thought it was good because it's interesting. They have all this power that like once they become godlike, he could fix his leg, but he just chooses to continue to be the lame god, literally the lame god. So it was an interesting read through. And then same thing with Apollo. Like I always think of Apollo as being like the Captain America of the gods or whatever, but he's actually kind of he's not Captain America like he's kind of in your face a little bit. And kind of like he never really just like bought into Zeus kind of deal. And yet he was one of Zeus's gods. So like that was interesting. They're pretty good reads, and I may continue with them. He's got at least 12 volumes because there were like at least 12 gods in the pantheon. I think Dionysus is the last book because I think he was the last god to be entered into Olympus. Anyways, I've never really gotten into like Percy Jackson stuff or anything like that, but I've always had a fondness for like Greek god stuff. That's why it's like, yeah, Chaos would have been a great show if they had not just done one season for Netflix and then canceled it.
Right. I didn't even ever get a chance to get around to watch. Like it was something I was kind of on my radar, and I was going to check it out at some point. Chaos.
Oh, you didn't even watch it?
I didn't ever get around to it, and then it was canceled, and I was like, "Oh, well, why start?"
It's worth watching, but it will just make you mad. By the end of it, you're gonna be like, "Why'd they cancel this? This is good." Like it's Jeff Goldblum as Zeus.
Right.
It's so good. It's so good.
I remember what show was that? Happy. Offbeat, kind of violent comedy thing that was on what channel? USA or something. It hit streaming anyway. Went for a few seasons, but at the end, like the voice of God was played by Jeff Goldblum in like the last episode or something, and I was like, "That's so good. That's so good." Yeah. Well.
Oh, but then you asked me about new things. Should I just jump into that?
I was gonna say. I got tired of Netflix canceling the shows I watched, and I canceled Netflix. So I have not yet watched the new thing that I know you are leading up to. Yeah. So, but I'm keen to hear your thoughts on it.
Okay, so Sandman dropped maybe today. I don't know.
I think
if it didn't drop today, it dropped really soon, like really recently. Right. And so I was like, "Ooh, I haven't seen anything. I better watch something that isn't an actual play of D&D." And so I chose Sandman because this is the final season and whatnot, and season 1 was really good. And so I've only seen the very first episode, and you can kind of tell that they're trying to wrap things up. Like already in that first episode, you can be like, "Oh man, they're bringing all the endless in. They're going to hell right off the bat. They're kind of like peeking in on characters from season 1 because he's like, I'm going to hell, or I've got to leave. I've got to go on a mission or something. And so I thought I may not be able to make our next meeting or whatever. Because there's that one guy that he like decides to give immortality to, and he meets with them every like 100 years or something. I don't remember what it was, but like he pops in on that guy, and then he pops in on the kid that was born in the realm of dream. So he does all these little things, and it's like, yeah, I don't feel like you would do that in a normal season. You would just go off on your little adventure. You do that for the final season.
Yeah,
So
you're tying up loose ends a little bit, or in a way.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's compelling, and every like all the characters are very cool. I'm always down for Tilda Swinton as the devil, So it's off to a good start. It's interesting. It's not Tilda Swinton. Who is it?
Wait, what'd you say?
The Game of Thrones lady.
Okay.
Gwendolyn. I don't remember her last name. Oh, what's her name?
It is disappointing because Sandman was good, and I felt like it had good momentum behind it. Not necessarily Stranger Things levels of fandom going on, but something that maybe Netflix wouldn't have canceled willy-nilly after 2 seasons. I mean, they even did the special episode however long after season 1. Like, I don't know. They usually don't do that.
I know.
Guy,
well, this was more born by the the
right.
Neil Gaiman of it all.
The Neil Gaiman of it all. It's very disappointing.
Gwendolyn Christie is her full name. Yeah.
Yeah, shout out for the assist from Holly on the info. How are they still doing yard work? It's been hours.
They'll do it until the sun goes down, and then they might do it with a flashlight. They got a GoPro and a flashlight. Maybe they're doing TikToks like that one guy who just does yards for free. Finds the worst. He finds the worst yards, and then he time lapse videos how he cleans them up.
That people like that kind of thing. There is, and I got turned on to it because Melanie pointed me towards this kind of video, and she only knows about it because her sister is like a constant TikTok user. But it's a guy who goes around, and there's a couple guys that do this, but goes around and finds like clogged drains, like street grates, lake drains, drainage ditches, and like unclogs them, and then you like watch all the water drain out. But the one we watch, I think, is called Post 10, and he's such a odd guy, because he'll also he did a video recently where he went and he'll sleep in, when he goes and travels around, he'll sleep in Walmart parking lots. And in the video we watched, he parked his pickup truck in a Walmart parking lot to park it all overnight. And he set up a tent, like a pop-up tent in the back of the pickup truck, where it's obviously this person's sleeping in a tent in the back of their truck in the parking lot. And he did it. He slept back there. And it's he'll go explore abandoned old buildings, just a weird random things, but one of the main things being going to drainage ditches and making sure the water's draining out. And surprisingly, it's a rabbit hole once in a while where it's just oh yeah, what's that guy doing? And then watch 5 of his videos.
What's that guy doing today?
What's that guy doing today?
Yeah.
Oh, he's trying to drain out this lake while he's talking about the history of this beaver dam and the activities of the local town that he's been trying to convince to do this thing. And it's weird. And it's dude, you live 2 states over. Why do you travel over here? Why are you all up in their local municipality business? Very weird, very strange dude, but entertaining videos.
Probably because he doesn't want people knowing where he lives. If he did it in his hometown and got big there, it would be
that's probably smart. Yeah, that's a good point.
Probably what's up.
It's a good point. So Sandman, I do plan on checking out season 2 though.
Right.
We got on a
Yeah,
tangent.
yeah. I think it'll be a good season, but I think it is going to feel a little rushed, and I think it is going to feel like a final season because it already does in the first episode.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that sucks a little bit because there's so much material to pull from.
Yeah.
And Warner Brothers is making more Harry Potter crap. Like, come on. I get it.
Yeah.
He let him step away. Keep making Sandman.
Right.
But that's probably a problematic comment in itself. I don't know. The material's good. That's all I'm saying.
Right. Right. It was like Buffy. They're going to reboot Buffy, despite the fact that Joss Whedon was complicated and problematic.
Right.
But he's also not the only person that was involved in it, and he's not the only person that can bring it back. And he's not involved. I don't believe he's involved in the reboot project.
I don't
he
think
maybe
so
has
either.
to sign off on it, but maybe not. I know Charisma Carpenter, what's her, what's her name? Is it not Felicity?
Oh, her name in the show?
Yeah. Cordelia,
yes.
She's like, I hope I get to come back for the reboot and undo that horrendous send off that I got in Angel.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's not great.
Yeah. Because she was just like in a coma, and then she was just dead in a very like, you should go do it, Angel. Like dream episode or whatever.
Yeah, that was real disappointing. I remember being rather upset about that once I finally got around to watching Angel.
Yeah.
It's such a weird show.
It's so weird. That show is so weird.
It's such a weird, because Wesley is still like the greatest character, one of the greatest character arcs in TV.
Oh.
Insane.
For sure.
He went from just the worst doofus, ridiculous comedic side character that I was like, why is he in this show? To being kind of just like a legitimate villain that you're like, yeah, okay. This guy,
right.
Don't mess with this guy. And it worked. Well,
yeah, by the end of it, it was so earned, like I was like, holy cow.
It's Wesley.
But yeah, when he comes on to Buffy, you're just like, you're kind of just like annoyed with him.
Right.
He's one of those annoying characters. But that was one thing that he seemed to be really good at, or at least the writers that he had on the project were really good at, was like, take this character who's just annoying, and by the end of it, you're kind of like, man, they're one of my favorite characters.
Yeah. He'll shoot a person just because they're not helping him fast enough. Like they made him ruthless, and that was interesting. It was Wesley and Walter White. There you go. Those the great television heel turns.
You better watch out, because he was Walker.
Right. He is. I am the one who watches. Creepy Wesley. What are you doing? It's a weird thing to say. I am the one who watches.
Then make him fall in love, and then take that love of his life away.
Right. Okay. Well, something I've been watching. Melanie and I, she might have thoughts on it next week or whenever we're back. We watched Predator: Killer of Killers, which is the animated Predator film that hit Hulu recently. And it's directed by Dan Trachtenberg, who also did Prey, which I liked a lot. And I think it's good. I only gave it 3 stars. I mean, that's decent, right? That's like, that's a fine rating. But so it's kind of in a way an anthology. I'll say this. I don't want to get into spoilers, but there's like, we'll say 4 segments total. 3 kind of main segments and then like a finale segment where things kind of come together. The first 2 sections were great. And kind of the premise, if you've seen the trailer, you'll kind of get the idea that it pushes further into this, what I feel like the Predator sequels have always should have been, which is why I like Prey so much, because they establish in the first Predator that every so many years, every so many 100 years, or however long, it gets real hot, predators show up, and they do their hunting thing. Like, that's their thing every so often, and they've been doing it for ages. That's the whole thing. You don't need autism is evolution, like weird plots and like all this other stuff. But
even Predator 2 did okay by that premise.
Right.
It went whole ham. It went full Nicolas Cage. But it held true to the premise. It just was a sophomore slump.
Right. It was just yeah. But so I don't think it's a spoiler if you've watched the trailer to say we get some vignettes. You've got you're following like some Viking type people. Predator shows up. He's gonna fight some Vikings. We got a ninja and a samurai type people. Predator shows up. He's gonna fight ninja and samurai. Super cool. I love the first 2 segments. And then on paper, the third one is interesting, but I did not like how it was approached. But it's like World War II. It's during World War II. Predator shows up. But they went so hokey. Like that one, they like dialed up the hoke. They're like, oh, this is the American section and it's World War II. We gotta like, I don't know, do hokey Hollywood style. I did not like it. And it really, like, the movie kind of took a hit for me there. And then the fourth part was fine. And I feel like the fourth section is what's kind of going to lead into the next movie, the live action movie that's hitting theaters whenever soon, I think, which will also be handled by Dan Trachtenberg. It is interesting though, because like there was that movie, there was Predators, which I think technically was the third one, if we were not counting the Alien movies.
Right.
I guess if we are counting, you shouldn't. If we are, it's the 5th one. And I kind of feel like what he's doing is taking like he's taking the concepts of like throughout time, Predators, and kind of mixing in, it seems like what he's doing with Predator Badlands a little bit is mixing in the idea of like, sometimes maybe they gather people together and like, hey, these are all crazy warriors. Let's go battle them somewhere. I could be wrong though, because I think I read
Battle Royale kind of thing almost.
Right. And maybe that's not what they're doing with Badlands, because I also read recently that he wanted to do Predator Badlands. He wanted there to be no humans. It was just predators. And that is apparently probably too big of an ask for a studio. It's like, you got to have human characters. You can't just be following predators, killing predators, or whatever the plan is. But based on Killer of Killers and Prey, I'm kind of looking forward to it. I like how he's handling it. I like his take. So,
well, and he's also the guy that did 10 Cloverfield Lane. So,
oh yeah, nice.
Like he's got some good stuff on, and like he's willing to approach things with a different slant that like takes a property and was like, okay, well, here's a slant on it that would be interesting. He's not just gonna go, oh, it's a giant monster.
Right. I feel like I still might have given a little bit too much away talking about this movie, but that's okay. I will say, so it's animated, and that's fine. I didn't mind the look of it, but they did it's CGI, and I think it kind of looks good, but they did the thing where they played with the frame rates for characters, and a lot of times they were like animated on 2s. In some cases, I think it was even like 3s, like they were super jerky. And I appreciate the look of that sometimes. A lot of times in this, though, I didn't think it was necessary. it didn't really work. Um,
I could see that working okay with like the ninja samurai idea,
right,
because
right.
that would make it feel more anime style.
And I appreciate what they were trying to do, where like it's CGI, but like also give it that kind of traditionally animated feel. But I think they went too choppy with it sometimes. And you're right. I didn't notice it as much, or it didn't stick out as badly for the Japan segment. But like the beginning, and maybe it just took a little bit to acclimate to it. It starts with the Viking segment, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
it's a little too choppy. Like I feel like it's not earned, or and it doesn't totally work stylistically. But whatever, that's just a minor pet peeve
Sure.
or nitpick or whatever. Yeah. So that's a thing I watched. Um,
Anything else you've been watching, or?
I've been watching some Dimension 20 a little bit.
I was gonna say, I mean,
I've
like,
been watching a lot of
that's
dropouts.
really all.
There's been some random stuff, but it's like the random crap that, Melanie and I've been watching some anime. We've been watching what's it called? It's hold on. That time I got reincarnated as a slime. There's a whole
Okay.
it's a subgenre. It's apparently a very popular subgenre. And if you have Crunchyroll, you were well aware of it, because so many of the titles are just that kind of long, ridiculous, like,
Sure.
I got reincarnated.
Like a Salvador Dali painting kind of title.
Yeah, super long. And I can't think of what the name of the subgenre is, but it's always like somebody in modern times died, then get reincarnated or brought back to life in a fantasy world. And there's usually a lot of like very video gamey elements, to where like Solo Leveling isn't that, but that's a perfect example of like the show is about literally like grinding XP and leveling up. Like there's a lot of that kind of stuff. And like uh it's kind of the new version of like calling out the special moves when you do it, because it's like a video game or an RPG game where you do a special move, and it's like got the graphic that shows up, and it's like the whatever shadow lightning, and and you can unlock unlock a new skill, that kind of stuff. So weird. There's one where a guy dies and is reincarnated in an RPG style fantasy world, and he has a special ability, and it's online shopping. So he has a phone in this fantasy world, and he can order anything off online on the phone, and it just like appears. And so he's ordering food for people online, and these are like fantasy world people, and they're like, "Oh my god, what is this?" And they're just eating this weird shows.
The food just throws up. They're like, they can't fathom it. They have magic, but they can't fathom that a guy shows up with food.
That's how he plays it off too. He's like, "Oh, it's just my magical ability," and he's over here ordering stuff on his phone. It's like, what is this?
How did you get reincarnated with a phone?
Right, that was his special ability. That's what he got. That's his weapon or whatever. It's a fun subgenre, but there's so much of it. So we kind of like dip in and out of different ones. But the slime, I got reincarnated as a slime, is what we're currently watching.
It's funny because it actually kind of ties into like what I'm currently watching on Dimension 20, which is the junior year. And like the whole theme of the junior year is like they're kind of their arch rivals or their arch nemesis in the season are the characters that
I love
just
that.
like
The rat grinders
they're just they're power gaming, but they're like they're literally just grinding. And it's like that dynamic of in particularly in MMOs, where you could have like a party of people that are like fighting a monster, and it can be like a really tough battle, but you don't need the XP. You need that guy that's the really low level in your party to go ahead and get the XP for the kill. So you weaken it for them, and then they come in and they just get the kill shot, and then they get a bunch of XP because they're part of the party. It was like, oh my goodness. And it's funny because they all get mad and stuff, and it becomes this fun, like, it becomes a fun banter dynamic between the characters when they finally have their showdown or whatever. It's like really good on paper, but no practical application.
Right. Murph, when he realized they're grinding XP.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna. The problem with Dimension 20 is like, okay, they're popular enough to sell out Madison Square Garden,
right?
Does anybody
and the Hollywood Bowl?
I mean, people must know it, right? Like, I feel it's weird to talk about it because it's like it's not a streaming on Netflix thing. You can catch some of it on YouTube, but otherwise you need Dropout.
Yeah.
But let's do it. We're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into the weeds a bit. That is such a good segue, man. Good segue. I hadn't thought about that. That is such an interesting, because outside of like the it's a fantasy world, but people have cars, they got cell phones, and they got their crystals. That is such a meta gaming type concept.
Right.
I was really kind of like surprised when they made those connections, and I was like, wait, really? Because in world, it doesn't really make sense. Like, they're at school and they're learning this magic stuff, but like he's got them literally farming XP, and it doesn't really make sense when you think about like how that actually like translates to their experience. Yeah.
And when it really hadn't played into that kind of a thing previously in Fantasy High either. So like, if you're just jumping into this conversation, you have no idea what we're talking about. Specifically, we're talking about Fantasy High, and this would be the third season of that. But they also have all these live shows that they do on college campuses and at like conventions, and now apparently in Madison Square Garden, and they're on a tour. Like, there's 2 more live shows coming up. There's one in Las Vegas. And so this is the third one. This is basically the most current full season of it. It's back in the studio. It's not Theater of the Mind as much, but all the Theater of the Mind stuff that happened in season 2 was really good and really set up what the season is kind of about. I mean, at least as far as I know. I'm on like the finale episode now. So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of big reveals, I assume, at the end of this thing, because Brennan always has these big reveals. But like, it's just, it's a fun way to have him back in the school. I really like the dynamic that he set up for the season, where it's like, okay, yeah, you have been out gallivanting and you have put saving the world as your priority over your classwork, and now you're going to suffer for that.
It is. I mean, outside of
made it a plot point too, you know?
Yeah. Outside of maybe the beginning of the first season, the first season maybe felt more high schooly. The second season, they were off on a road trip. That's the road trip season.
Yeah. They weren't even hardly at school.
But even the first season felt like, even though they were around the school and talking to different classmates and stuff, it was like they were still on a quest. Like they were like, in this season, I feel like they really doubled down on like, no, school itself, attending classes is a primary focus. And I think one of my favorite things is the stress mechanic, the downtime mechanic, and how he incorporated that. Because I mean, it sounds like that could have been boring. It's like, well, you need to roll for school or whatever. But even though it's like kind of a dice roll mechanic, it still ended up being a role play situation where sometimes they do dice rolls and just kind of knock it out. But other times it's like, okay, well, what are you doing here? What are you going to focus on next? You know, your social life, your family, whatever. Like, they had all these different things. And I really
funneled them in terms of role play. Like, it funneled in the narrative quality in a way that sometimes those guys need on it, to be honest, like especially in the second season. Yeah, it really made them think about those things, those little side quests within the bigger campaign. And also you could see where like, oh no, you should have been spending a little bit more time on this. Like there were consequences when they kind of forgot or neglected a thing.
Right, right.
And Gorgug eventually, like, well, I mean, again, spoilers. I'm just kind of spoilery, but I'm not going to spoil the end of the season because I haven't seen it yet. Like Gorgug has to make the decision not to continue on with the owlbears because it's just too much. He's
Right.
taking on too much in the season, and it was like it was funny because it's like, yeah, it never really did make a whole lot of sense for him to join the owlbears, other than Fabian was there.
Yep. Yep.
And it was the opportunity was presented, so they took it.
But that also, yeah, and that works though. That works. And they got to like, that's why I like the downtime mechanic, and because it forced them to like, forced them to make their characters prioritize and focus on certain things. But that kind of almost adds a more realistic dynamic, because it didn't necessarily make sense that he was on the team, but his buddy was on the team. That happens a lot until it gets to a point where it's like, dude, I'm sorry, I got to drop off the team. And his buddy's upset about it. And then they like talk about whipping him in the locker room.
It's so funny. He was like, "What? When I make that, there's this moment where I make the helicopter sound, like, yeah, and I'm hiding." Like, yeah, it's a game. I was like, yeah, in high school, I had that dynamic. Like, the only reason I was on the football team is because all my friends were on the football team.
Right.
And then the second year, they talked me into coming back, and I was like, why am I here? I don't like this. The best thing about this is the stretching, because I'm better at it than anybody else. It's the only thing on the football field I'm better at everyone else than. Right. It's like, because at that time I could like drop down into the front splits and whatnot. And so like when people were like, take your leg back as far as you can take it, I'd have to have somebody like come put my leg all the way up here, kind of thing. And it was like, yeah, this is cool. I'm cool. And then it was like, get out there on the field. And I'm like, I hate this.
Right.
Their job is literally to knock me down, and they enjoy it. And they're better at it than me.
Right. Right. So I was curious, because I'm probably off. Melanie's not here. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about this.
Right. Absolutely.
But I was because we've talked about it before. I don't know if it was on the show, but off mic probably. You loved season 2 a lot, and I think season 2 is great. I think it's got a lot of the best moments, like the most outlandish and memorable moments, I think did come from season 2. But
like proof of concept, though, that like a lot of my favorite moments from season 2 are revisited in season 3 to a better effect. Like one of my favorite things about season 2 that I laughed so hard about was the shrimp party. The shrimp party was so ridiculous, and they bring it back for season 3 and arguably make it even more bonkers and insane and fun with the bad baby milk and the buttered ramp and everything.
That was something when I was talking to you about how I felt about season 3 before you got to it. I didn't want to give you any spoilers, but I was like, I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's one of the most enjoyable seasons for me, because it felt like a sequel done right. And that's an element of it, because it adds a bunch of new stuff, but it iterates on things, some of the best moments before, and turns them up to 11, but it works. It doesn't feel cheesy. And I think part of it is there's enough new stuff. And also, junior year, Brennan ships a lot of the most beloved NPCs off, like right off the bat. Like it's obvious he's getting rid of, intentionally shipping, like Galier's gone. He's on a trip with Hilarial, and Eggfort's gone, and like the girlfriends are all gone. Like,
yeah, right.
And that's disappointing at the beginning, especially. But I think
Mhm.
Brennan might have said at some point, I don't remember where, he wanted to like bring in new NPCs just to flesh it out. So it felt like there was like, oh no, there's more than just this handful of people that live in this town. Like there's all these other characters and these other teachers at the school. And it, I think, was partially, I think, a little bit plot driven, but also partially so that he could focus on like, yeah, even though we didn't get her much, the dance teacher and the rat
Right.
grinders, all these other
Yeah.
NPCs. And if Galir was around, and if Rog was there pretty often, but if he was graduated out, that's a smart way to do it. If Rog was like, they'd be dragging them along
Right.
everywhere, and this kind of eliminated that.
Right.
That's my theory.
And even Tracker, like they brought Tracker back for what the holiday episode, and they used her to good effect too, where it was like and even there she was pretty busy, you know. It's like she was there for some important scenes, but then Brennan takes her off the board so that Allie can't just like belabor that, I guess. And then also introduce other characters there too, and it like that was actually a pretty good episode where they learned quite a bit. And it led to the return of the bear, you know, like them all getting sucked into a briefcase and having a nightmare.
Oh yeah,
a Nightmare King episode.
Yeah, yeah, and I like that. It's so weird because whatever, it's D&D, and it is like theater of the mind. But when the holiday episode they went back, it felt like, oh, we're revisiting this place because I really liked in sophomore year the whole the what is that place called? The Elven place, the high elf
Fallon. Yeah, Fallon. It's in Fallonell, and it was that one specific place where the grandfather was, and he can't say Gorgug's name. You know, he says Georgug, and they're super passive aggressive about it.
Right, right. And I did get that vibe of like, yeah, I'm glad we get to revisit this location, even though like you don't see the location, and it's really just like,
right.
It's the grandfather character popping up again, and again taking that premise and dialing it up just a little bit so it's not just totally redundant with the yak back in his pocket, like a yak back specifically. What?
Well, and then Galir is like, it's ruining his life to have all this good luck.
That.
So I was like, oh my god, that's the most Galir way to approach a total swing in his like fortune. They made me the mayor.
And he hates it. He hates it.
Yeah. It's ruining his life.
Right. Yeah, that was fun exploring that. The whole luck aspect was a lot of good fun.
It's a meaty season, you know, like that was the one thing I was worried about, because sophomore season was really pretty long. Like they just kept going, kind of thing, because it was their weekly live stream, kind of like what we do. But it had to eventually come to an end, and so like there was a lot there.
Mm-hmm.
But this is because I think partly because of that narrative stress, you know, like the stress tracks or whatever. I feel like that did help flesh out a season that could have been kind of lighter, you know. Like it could have felt like one of those side quest seasons or whatever, but it didn't feel like that. It was beefy. It had a lot of there was a lot of meat on the bone, and for a world that's already had 2 seasons already, like it could get pretty convoluted and you could really miss a lot of stuff, but they really delved into it pretty well. I've been very impressed with it, and I have no idea what they could possibly do for a senior year after this. But
I know
they'll come up with something, you know.
I'm
gonna miss some of the characters that won't be back. Like if they manage to survive it, is like, oh man, I kind of grew to I kind of always liked that character. I always kind of liked the dynamic and thought it was ridiculous that, I don't want to give away that reveal, unfortunately, because that one feels like a big spoiler. But one of the major nemesis of the season is just so delicious.
Is that
We finally get the reveal.
I think I know what you're talking about. I didn't want to mention it because I didn't know which episode. You still got one left. Is that the one where, like, long game reveal and they flash
5 years in the making?
Yes, they flash up the clip of Brennan from, I think, season 2, maybe
season 2.
Yeah, that I loved that. That was when I was like, that was one that happened, and I was like, I can't wait till Jesse gets in this season. It's such a good reveal.
Oh man, and they even were onto it way before I was. Like, they were starting to pick up on the clues way before I was. I was like, it was still a good reveal, and I was like, oh, you gotta be kidding me.
And it's one of those, like, it feels like, sorry, I thought I heard something. It feels like the Vulture dimension. Like, there's these, like, long con jokes kind of,
yes,
but that, like, is born of a bit. But if you go back to episode 2, I think, of the very first season, the thing you're talking about is set up in the second episode of the entire series. Over 5 years,
with
5 years
all
ago.
the characters, even. Yeah.
Like that's incredible.
Some of the major characters, I was like, oh my god, you who would have thought? And there's so many, like, good red herrings that make you keep your eye on this character, and you forget just how tied they are to another character.
Yeah. It's one of those where it almost felt like it was born out of a bit, right? Like, so and so doesn't like so and so. So weird dancing around these. But
and even one of the big dynamics of like the finale is, like, born of a bit where, like, this one isn't such a big spoiler, but it's like there is a moment in season 2 where Allie Beardsley just doesn't have the right spell cards. Like that. It all comes from that. Yeah. And then so, like, then Brennan's like, okay, I'm gonna actually give them the spell that they thought they had. And so he makes a spell for Allie's character, and then it winds, he doesn't have any concept of how that's going to come back to bite him, and it bites him in such a major way.
Oh, and they capitalize on it so hard.
Oh, they power game that beautifully.
Yeah, that's so funny. It's like a spell she thought she had, and it's like, no, that's not a spell. That's not so. And he made it for her, so he ended up making it for her for Kristen. Kristen, yeah. That's me saving misgendering.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was so good. There's a few times where he kind of screws himself, and I always love his reaction to it. Like Gorgug realizing that his mindless rage undoes these two effects, which he happened to be under at that moment, and he got Brendan's NPC to like agree, like, yeah, go into a mindless rage, and that, like, totally broke the encounter. It was so good.
And they bait him right into it, but he gives as good as he gets too, like the way that he basically tricks Emily Axford into having Fig become this paladin. It was just like a master stroke. It was like, yeah, how did you do that? I don't know. Like, that's some next level thinking.
It kind of felt like it seems so out of nowhere, so left field in a way. But yeah, he made it work. And also, I kind of feel like maybe he's like, well, somebody needs to actually be a paladin. Like somebody needs to actually like follow through with this concept,
he
because
had he had Emily Axford's number this entire season. Like he
right,
created the Aarakocra just to mess with her because she
right,
keeps assuming alternate identities. He had like he played her like a fiddle with that, leading her directly into this thing. Like it's like he saw the writing on the wall and he was just like, oh, here's how we weave it in. I know exactly how to get her there. And he did. Like that was part of the adventuring party episode afterwards where she's just like, I thought it was my idea. I thought it was my idea. I questioned myself. I thought it was dumb, and then when and then this character talked me into this other thing, and it was like, oh, well, that makes more sense, and yeah,
it's interesting because I
so good.
I kind of feel like I don't think he can wrangle Allie that way. I feel like maybe
No,
I feel like
no,
maybe he tries the whole shrimp thing, uh, uh which using Fig as a catalyst for that to set up this shrimp thing with Cassandra, uh, was maybe his attempt to like wrangle them. He he can't do it. Allie
no.
Allie is unwrangleable.
And then they all play into it too, like the fact that Siobhan what was it, Adine creates this I can't say the word, basically a clone.
Simulacrum, I think.
Simulacrum, yeah.
I can only say it because I was
A
rewatching the
clone
adventure
basically,
parties tonight. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. uh and so it's like they handed her a flamethrower. And that character, it's like, oh, the Kristen character is already unhinged. Now you just gave her a flamethrower too. So it's like one wasn't enough. And then Allie, they go full ham on like, oh, well, how do I make this character even more unhinged? Let's just make them let's make them British, let's make them straight, let's make them all these things that I'm not.
It's supposed to be
Oh,
like a copy of Kristen, and yeah, they couldn't help
so that
themselves.
so that Kristen doesn't get killed. It's like I'm supposed to make this copy so they think that's really me. But then that character doesn't act like them at all.
No, no. Uh,
Like on purpose. Like by design. It's insane.
we talked about it in chat a little bit. I come around. This season brought me back around a little bit on Kristen. By the I think it maybe was season 2 specifically. I kind of really disliked the character of Kristen through most
Oh
of
yeah.
season 2. Because sometimes Allie just plays the character too ridiculous, uh, too over the top. Like the whole like uh, using sex acts as a healing thing, and it's like, come on now, reel it in a
Right.
little bit, and then
Well,
just
even in junior year when they're like, I need to get closer to my friends, so I take off all my clothes. And it was and just like doing things just to make the other characters are more like uncomfortable or whatever. And just man knows how to play Lou on that. It was like
right,
Lou, because Lou he plays uncomfortable so well
yeah,
anyways.
yeah. But maybe it's shifting the paladin over to Fig that kind of fixed it for me, because I was like, don't let so much of the plot don't
Yeah.
don't make the Kristen character so integral to like the huge cosmic scale plot, because you've got Kristen being played by the most ridiculous chaotic neutral uh chaos gremlin player.
Oh yeah.
It's setting yourself up for disaster.
Yeah. And you really see that in the behind the scenes stuff. Like
Yeah.
Allie Beardsley is just like, and don't get me wrong, Allie Beardsley is hilarious.
Right.
But if you're trying to keep the story on the rails, you can. And he's even said that in, what was it? There was an episode of what's it called? Adventuring Academy, where they talk about like D&D related stuff. And for a while they were doing like a segment where it was like, we're going to argue this versus that. Right.
Yeah.
And somebody was trying to explain, I don't remember what the setup was, but he was like, so you're trying to tell me that, that basically like letting character direct the focus of things. And he's like, yeah, but if you put Allie Beardsley in Game of Thrones as Ned Stark, they're gonna roll a nat 20, they're gonna get away, and they're gonna they're gonna get away on their Hot Wheels track or whatever and do a loop to loop and be out of there. And then he's like, yeah, but you could make that dark and mysterious. And he's like, yes, I guess I could, like that kind of thing. So I saw a clip of that and I was like, that pretty well sums up Allie Beardsley perfectly, because Allie Beardsley would introduce some nonsense that makes no sense. As it is, Allie Beardsley is, like you can do like a pop culture counter on that. If you want to play a drinking game, Allie Beardsley is just going to make some pop culture reference that doesn't make any sense. That's an anachronism. Yep. They are probably the worst offender on the show, as far as like, oh well, here's a pop culture reference.
Even in the world of Fantasy High, where you can kind of get away with it to a point,
right?
They still break it. It's still like, because it's the whole like Kristen K2 is specifically British Kristen. And it's right. Like there is no Britain in this world.
There's no Britain. And then like one of the campaign promises is like a very specific like pop artist or something. And then they go and talk at the steel mill.
Yeah.
I really got to get the Steelworkers Union vote or whatever. That kind of thing. I mean, like that stuff was so good though. I mean, like I'm so glad that they're there. They do add a richness that just wouldn't be there if they were gone. But at the same time, it does sometimes get exhausting when like a truly dramatic narrative moment is occurring and then they just take it off into a total nonsense tangent.
It's so interesting because I'd seen a lot of like college humor skits and stuff, but like I didn't really retain the people in them. Although watching some of the Dropout stuff, I'm like, oh wait, I know this person. And then I'd watch some of the college humor stuff and be like, oh my God, they're all here. Okay. You know, but I didn't really pay that much attention until watching through Dimension 20 stuff. So that's my main introduction to a lot of them. And yeah, I was the first 2 seasons of Fantasy High, I was kind of annoyed with Allie Beardsley. But then I started watching through a bunch of the other Dropout stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, they're great. Like legitimately funny, and they just seem like Dropout is good about having not all of them, but they have a few people like Lou where they seem, and I'm not trying to get like parasocial weird relation, they seem lovable. Allie Beardsley seems like a lovable goofball, and they're great. They say funny things. And so maybe watching them in other stuff helped me come around to Kristen this season. But then also watching other seasons of Dimension 20 and where they're always a chaos gremlin, but I've been bouncing between the new show, Cloudward Ho, and Starstruck, and their character, although the episode that dropped this
today,
was it today?
It was like today or yesterday. It was
Right.
really recent. Yeah.
Uh,
It might have been yesterday.
they're working back toward like just getting out there again, but
Shades of Kristen.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Doing air humps on a roof while some crazy action thing is happening down below. It's like, what is
Yeah.
this? What is this scene you're
Yeah.
painting for us? Anyway, but
Well, that's the thing is I
they,
think Allie Beardsley is best when they're given kind of a I don't know, you have to give Allie Beardsley like a lane, a lane to play within, you know, otherwise if there are no boundaries, then then Allie Beardsley knows that and will play with no boundaries.
I kind of feel that's like where they're getting in Cloudward Ho, where it's like they have a very defined character, but now they're getting more into the world and into the adventure, and like kind of they don't necessarily have to run or stay with, like they could kind of, they're more free to do things now, and it's getting wackier. But also, I was telling you, in Starstruck and in Cloudward Ho, their character is kind of an oddball within the group, and that almost kind of works.
Right.
And the groups are all they're all kind of oddballs, but making their character stand out from the other characters kind of helps when their character decisions end up standing out so much from some of the other characters. It's like, well, that's just the character now. Like, it doesn't necessarily feel that out of place.
Like watching the first season of Unsleeping City kind of helped me come around to Allie Beardsley too, because like that character was a Hunter S. Thompson type character.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh yeah, that is going to be out there, you know. And yeah, typical Allie Beardsley chaos stuff, but it made for some cool moments where you're just like and it's I mean, like the one that is very, very well I don't know, documented in clips and whatnot is the idea that like Kingston is just like, he's like, if it comes down to it, if it's Pete or the city, you know, Pete's got to go.
Right.
It was like this whole tense moment where the whole D20 universe was just like, whoa. It was like, no, it's totally in character.
I bounced off of On Sleeping City after a couple episodes. I will revisit it at some point, and I'm not sure what it was.
It's a slower burn. You have to, like once you get further into the middle of the season, I feel like you really start to click with those characters a little bit more. But it felt more produced and it felt more story driven, like more railroady a little bit at first, because you kept getting all these like very specific to New York kind of things, and like, oh, we're going to dig into the lore of New York.
Right.
And so, yeah, it also had this like backwards narrative thing where it's like the characters themselves knew a bunch of things that none of us knew.
Right. Okay.
And so it was like, it felt like I was watching a show more than a play, like than an actual play at certain points in that first season. I don't know if the second season will feel like that. That's a COVID show. Season 2 is, so
right.
I'm a little worried to jump back into that world, which I shouldn't be, because they ended this season. I feel like they ended season 2 of Fantasy High. Okay, it was fine, and that was like before they probably even had it figured out. You know, like I think they got better at it as they went along.
That season, that Fantasy High sophomore year finale, that last episode was like 5 hours long. It was
so long,
crazy. It was a crunchy battle.
Yeah,
that's one thing. Real quick, jumping back to Fantasy High, the characters obviously leveled up quite a bit, but also like it has been 5 years, and they've been playing D&D pretty consistently that whole time, and you can kind of tell like they are way much way much better. They're way better at dealing with the like crunchy combat, and
they're clever. Yeah,
yeah,
they know how to like make their characters sing.
right,
Sometimes literally.
right. Uh, Cloudward Ho, I've been enjoying. I do like. I mean, it kind of sucks you can't binge it, but I do like watching it week to week as it comes out.
Yes. Yeah.
And I will say, I love the characters. The setting's pretty cool. They're trying to like in the like adventuring party segments. Brennan's talked about like trying to really like capture wonder for one, but also like the idea of exploration, because they're usually either like it's either role play or battle or whatever lore drops, as opposed to like they wanted to emphasize like exploring. They're going to this land or whatever. And that's interesting, but I found it lulls a little bit in a couple episodes.
Sure. I wonder how that works with the art team, because like that was one
It's
thing even in this
interesting.
season where there's like Lou's like, I might release Bakur, and he's like saying that in an adventuring party episode, and and Brendan's like, you gotta tell us this stuff in advance. There's a whole art team that's gotta build a mini for him, you know, and like so like they don't have a mini for him when when that happens, because like there was not enough time for that kind of turnaround,
They
and it makes me wonder about that for
they,
this kind of a dynamic.
they do something really cool. They kind of actually come up with a situation. They kind of address that head on in this interesting way. Yeah, I'm glad you said that. They do something really cool. The episode that dropped this week was great, though. It was proper shenanigans, shenanigans, and like it was like a not like a set piece battle, but ended up being a altercation. And so there was a battle, and it got ridiculous. Zach Oyama even pulling like going a little Ali Beardsley with some of his decisions. It's like, what are you doing, dude? It was a lot of fun. So it's good.
Even cowgirls get the blues kind of thing.
right.
Unit
character. I like that character. I want more of that. More of that
yeah.
robot character, whatever that was. Floating orb.
Or Squeam, both of them. Yeah.
Right.
Squeam and him go on they go on a road trip. That's the side adventure we need.
When is that Chungle Rumble in the Chungle?
I don't know. I don't know when it. I mean, like it's already happened.
Yeah,
it's already happened, and it's like I want to know, but I also don't want spoilers. I want to watch it.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Put it on the service. I don't know. I'm sure there's some kind of a deal. I don't know how long ago the Madison Square Garden thing came out, and then they put it on there. So
right.
Seems like there's probably a couple of months of production that go into that before they release it. So, but I hope they release that, because like there's got to be people like just chomping at the bit for more Fantasy High content before they do a season, you know, like a senior season. And if they do that, it was like, then it's over unless they continue into the college years. But like that kind of defeats the purpose of the high school format. And I kind of hope they just kind of, I don't know. I guess I'll have to see after senior year.
Right. Maybe they'll drop it after. That seems like quite a wait. Maybe they'll drop it after this current season wraps, but I don't know how many episodes this current season.
Do they? Because they don't have a. So what they do is they do a full season, right, and then they do a side quest, right. So like before Cloudward Ho, it was Titan Takedown.
Right. Okay. Yep.
Right. And so like, yeah, they do like a short season, and then I think they're also producing, like I think while that sidetrack is coming out, they're producing the big season. So it stands to reason that they would need something to drop like right after a big season wraps.
Yeah.
because it seems like that's what we got. We got Titan Takedown, and then we got Madison Square Garden, because it was like, so it was kind of like the culmination of those things that pulled me in, where I was just like, I need more of this. I don't know what this is, but I'm gonna need to watch all of it.
Right.
Because once I got into it, and I won't lie, it was the wrestlers that pulled me into it, because I was like, oh my god, these wrestlers are gonna play D&D with Brennan Lee Mulligan, and like I'd already seen like clips of him doing stuff, but I'd never really watched one of the actual plays. And it was fun. And those guys they are not nearly as good at this stuff as the Intrepid Heroes are, but they were pretty darn good.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna try this. And at first I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if this is maybe I made a terrible mistake. And then I kept going, and I was like, nah, I made the right call. This is great. I need more of this in my life. And I shouldn't do it, but I keep saying, you won't see this on Critical Role.
Right.
You know, like it's not one or the other. They're both great at what they both do. Right. Like,
right.
But this is, like if you had to, like if I had to pick one, Pepsi or Coke, oh man, it's this one.
And spent a fair bit of time complaining about how like over the top and goofball Allie Beardsley gets with her characters, but it's the fact that the shows do go more over the top and goofball than Critical Role seems to. A lot of times they'll get sillier with it. It's not, they don't take it as seriously, but they will also get serious. Emily Axford will drop tears on a dime in certain situations.
Oh yeah. Emily cares, but also she could get so wacky. Like I was listening to one of the NADPOD episodes, and her characters are always bonkers. They're always so silly, but also like she is true to that character. Whatever that character is, she is 1,000% dialed in.
Oh, I love a good, weird, outlandish character. Starstruck, and I don't even want to say what the character is, but Skip is such a good character and such a good concept. Like I was telling you, after Fantasy High, if you want another like good goofball one, I'm enjoying Starstruck quite a bit.
I've been wanting to watch that one anyways because of the tie to Brennan and his family, like to his mom and whatnot. It just sounds like a cool idea, like to take a novel and to have that connection so that you could just do it, like it's not like he's like, oh, I'm going to take this pre-existing campaign setting. He's like, no, I'm going to take this setting that doesn't have any kind of game stuff out for it, and I'm going to flesh it out myself.
Right.
And it's like that's a cool idea, even if it doesn't have anything to do with like whatever the novels are, if it's just set in that world. And I hope that's the case.
Right. I think it is. It's just set in that world, and it's interesting because there's clearly it'll get crunchy in such a weird way. Like it's the like capitalist dystopian cowboy space opera type sci-fi future, and they'll get so crunchy with how many credits they have to spend to fix the shields on the ship and to do all this and all that, and it's like that doesn't sound like it'd be fun, but it is fun. And then the characters are all like so kind of dysfunctional and like it's got that like
Firefly kind of vibe
lovable group of just kind of losers. They're not all losers, but just like misfits.
Do they use a different game system for this, or do they stick with basically 5th edition because that's what most of the like people know? Is it like modified 5th edition?
It's I think it's a modified 5th edition that somebody Brennan shouts it out towards the beginning, I think, or maybe it was an
Okay.
adventuring party episode. But it's like a heavily modified, I'm pretty sure 5th edition system,
Sure.
with a bunch of other like Frankenstein in homebrew stuff, and
Sure.
like all the characters are would be really weird classes, so they're like kind of homebrewed Frankenstein together classes. Yeah, I've noticed that a little bit with I don't know what system they're using for Cloudward Ho, but I've noticed with a little bit with the character, like there's a fighter in this recent episode. I noticed they were taking half damage because they went into a rage. I was like, oh, that's like they're like a
Oh, it's model.
barbarian.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
things
So
like
they're
that.
homebrewing classes and stuff, or
Right.
they're just picking classes that make a little more sense in the world, probably.
Yeah.
Or yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's got to be a lot
Okay.
of. It's got to be so much prep. It's got to be so
Oh
much
man,
prep.
he was talking about it on one of the adventuring parties, and it was like, yeah, I bet, because like he tells a good mystery, man. Like that is not one of my skills. My skills was never that. Mine was always like roll with it. I was always like, okay, sandbox, let's go. What are you doing now, Louie? What are you doing now, Lou?
You kind of have to. You would have to roll. Speaking of players, where it's just like they're not going to go with your plans.
Yeah,
You got to
Chaos
roll with
Gremlin.
it.
Yeah.
Yep. That's funny.
And also glad that you do, because like it would be so dumb, but like it would also be infinitely entertaining.
Yep.
It's like, okay, guess we're doing what you're doing. It's not what I had planned, but it's funny. So
D&D is one of those things where I think I appreciate most when it's like you love it when a plan comes together, except nobody really had the plan and no one person would have come up with that plan, but everybody
right.
working together just creates these scenarios where you're like, oh, all that just happened, I guess.
A surprising synergistic serendipity.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's kind of why I like Thor Ragnarok so much, because it's in D&D you'll come up with these scenarios, and describing certain scenes of Thor Ragnarok sounds like one of those scenarios. It's like,
All right.
there's a werewolf on the Rainbow Bridge with an orgy ship firing fireworks overboard. Then the Hulk's there, and then it's like, what is this? What is
drop
this?
the Hulk right down in the middle of it, and
yeah.
Thor's hammer is broken.
Right.
Most of his awesome friends are dead.
And it wasn't even though they dropped the Hulk down. Banner jumps out and then dies on the bridge, but then it comes back as the Hulk. Like, it's just where it's a series of like ridiculous and escalating, like, and then somehow it all
dumped on a junk planet and meets a drunk Valkyrie.
Right. Yeah. Those are my favorite kind of like D&D style moments, where it's just all these like insane scenarios, and it's like, and it all came together and it worked somehow. Somehow it worked.
But then if you're not careful, you'll get Love and Thunder.
Right. Right.
Sometimes it's magic, and sometimes
it could use a few more passes. Yeah.
Yep.
Sometimes it should have been a book, maybe, instead of a D&D campaign. Sometimes it just
right. Yeah. Whoops. Well, I think that was amazing.
That was amazing. And Melanie's on her way home, but she is not going to get here in time to have an amazing story.
No.
I don't have an amazing story. I do hear fireworks going off, which makes me worry about Melanie. I do not like when she drives and there's fireworks.
Is she watching the fireworks instead?
Yeah.
Like, oh, there's fireworks. Oh, no.
Yeah. She'll be fine. All right. Yeah, I don't have anything amazing.
No, I instead of like what is amazing, I can tell you what's amazing.
Yeah.
Friends, followers of the show are amazing, and one of those amazing followers invited us onto their amazing show, the Middle Aged Movie Review Podcast. That's why we weren't here last week. And so that I don't know when that's coming out, but we had an awesome discussion with Matt and Joey. And yeah, man, that is I'm sorry, Matt. I know you're gonna have to edit that thing, but yeah.
It's his fault because when I pitched, he reached out to me and I pitched him like, well, what if we're going to record on a Thursday, what if we just skip a Grawlix and you have the whole Grawlix crew on? Then I was thinking about like the other episodes I've been a guest on. They're not short. They're not short episodes because they'll go through the movie almost scene by scene.
Yeah.
And I was like, then again, that's 3 guests plus, your usual hosts. That might go on a little too long. And he said, no, it's fine. We just kind of do a general overview now. I mean, skipping every other scene is still kind of involved. So yeah, it was a healthy recording session.
If we had not done that during the summer, I couldn't have stayed. I would have had to leave. I would have been like, I don't know what, because that recording went until almost midnight. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
It felt like it.
It's like 11, close, at least 11 something. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh God, that's so much later than I normally can record, That was my main thing when I went on for Enter the Dragon, was like, I got a heart out. I have to go to bed. I'm happy to go on the show. Love this movie. Want to talk about it, but I have a heart out at this particular time.
It was a good conversation though. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be a healthy episode. I don't think it was crazy long, but it'll be a healthy episode.
Oh yeah. I mean, they have longer episodes anyways. They have longer episodes than we tend to stream. So.
All right. Good call mentioning that. Yeah, I feel like maybe next month. I'm not sure. Yeah. They're good about like keeping a backlog, so they have, I think, a few in the pipeline. All right. I don't have anything else to mention. You got anything else to mention before we bounce out?
No, I think I just covered the thing I wanted to make sure that I mentioned.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess one other thing, I don't know if anybody's watching tonight, but if you are, this next, it's not this weekend. It'll be next weekend. Is OCon, or it used to be OComicon, and we've attended in the past. And someone I went to high school with, Carrie Sanders, she's going to be doing a panel with Phil Hester there. So yeah, that's a local comic convention that happens in the Mid-America Center in Council Bluffs, Iowa. If you're interested, they have a ton of cool comic guests this year. Like Mark Bagley is going to be there. It's like, wow, like he usually goes to some pretty big shows. So I was like shocked to see that they got him. And they've also gotten, like some like local legends that come to all these things. Like Daryl Skelton will be there. Phil Hester will be there. A lot of people that you know and love anyways. So that's a thing that's coming up if you're interested in that kind of stuff. Also, I know we're not Humble partners, but right now, humblebundle.com has got like a crazy role-playing game bundle right now that has like, it has the core book for Savage Worlds. It's got the core book for Cthulhu. It's got the core book for a couple of like movie IP games. I want to say it had like, there's just like some really good stuff. It's a little pricier of a bundle, I will say, but like looking at the stuff that's in the bundle, I even consider it because it's such a beefy bundle.
G-Mega bundle. Okay.
Little bit. Yep.
roll big or go home. And I was looking at it, I was like, oh my goodness, like, but I don't play the ones I got, so I don't need that bundle. But I'm
Right.
I'm like, but do I? No, I don't. I tell you, I am it.
Interesting stuff in there.
And there's some stuff like, there's some stuff I have, but it was like Goblin Quest is in there. They have Kobolds That Ate My Baby. They have, I mean, like, they have some classic stuff in there. So I guess those are some just little tidbits. That's more of a PS. Pretty good bundle.
Yeah, we were always recommending humble bundles before we were. Absolutely. Can't pass up a good deal on cool stuff.
Right.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll probably be back next week.
And if not, make sure to listen to Abyss.show tomorrow night.
Yeah, tomorrow night. Helix Rock Radio. It's rockradio.live. Be perfect soundtrack for your fireworks display. All right.
We're not even video, and I'm doing the things.
Yep, doing the things. Bye, Helix. Rock Radio. Bye,
Helix.
Bye.
All right. Bye, YouTube.
Bye, YouTube.
Grawlixpodcast.com. I don't know why I didn't say that before I disconnected Helix. Doesn't matter.
Everything's weird.
Everything is weird.
Everything's weird. Nothing matters.